Hi, this is Sonoria. I'm going on to my story, part 14, and I just wanted to say thank you guys if you're still listening and you're still watching. Thank you so much. So, I was trying to decide what else I'd like to talk about because I have so many stories I wanted to share. And something that came to me I think that one of the things I like to address is our relationships with our significant others and so forth. Because with me having 7 children, um, um, I've had a lot of different relationships, and these relationships. I have children from most of the relationships. So although I have 7 children, they all have different fathers, and each one has a story that comes from that story. So the first one, I met him when I went to Job Corps. He was my first love. Um, I was a virgin, and I had a daughter. That was my firstborn. And my second one was a boy, and his dad and I met in Colorado. And um, he was awesome. I met him, and I had my daughter, and he kind of assumed responsibility. So he seen himself as my daughter's father because he came into our life when she was fairly young. So he looked at it as though that's his daughter, and he was awesome. And he and I, we ended up leaving Colorado, and we moved to Oklahoma for a little while because my dad was in Oklahoma during the time. And so we decided to go there. And then he and I had gotten into it. And so he decided to go back to Denver. And shortly after, I followed. And I had no idea that I was pregnant with his child. But when I got to Denver, then it all came out, and then I contacted him, let him know that I was pregnant, so on and so forth, and everything was fine, and we were getting along fine. So, but we wasn't together anymore, so we decided it would be better if he went his way and we continued to be friends. And so, then the third child would be I would end up having another daughter, and she had her dad and I met in Colorado, and he was a little bit younger than me, but I didn't know that because he had lied to me and told me he was older, and he seemed much more mature. So me and him dated for a while, and then me and him ended up getting into it because of a situation that occurred in the relationship. He used to cheat a lot, but he'd done something that was unforgivable, and so um, he wasn't going to be allowed to be in my life or into his child's life because of that. And um, that was the end of that story. So moving right along, that didn't work out. So then the fourth child, I ended up, I had went to prison, and I had been in prison, and it was for me writing bad checks on my account, insufficient funds. And I didn't know it, but there is such a thing as going to prison behind that. So be careful if you're out there writing bad checks. Even though it was my own account, I didn't have the money in there, and I was writing them. But I wanted to make sure that my daughter, because she was starting kindergarten, and I didn't feel as though because I had left on maternity leave, I felt like I should still have my job, but they gave my job away. I was in the medical field. So when I came back, I didn't have a job. And I was very prideful, so I wasn't trying to think about, oh, I need to be on welfare and go down and do this and that. So I ended up finding myself into trouble doing things I didn't have no business. And so I went to prison. And then the children at the time, they were staying with different family members. And so um, when I got out, I was in Denver. I was in Colorado. I had went to the Women's Department of Corrections there um, in Colorado. And when got out, my sister, she was living in Dallas, Texas. And so she had told me, and she had this boyfriend. Well, he actually was her husband. And when I was incarcerated, she was telling me some of the things about him and how he was putting his hands on her. Well, that's That's not a good thing, and it's not something you want to tell the big sister. So my sister shared it with me. So I told her one day, I was talking to her, and she was like, "Oh, he's here. He just came in." I said, "Put him on the phone." So he got on the phone, and I tell him, I said, "Let me tell you something. You don't be putting your hands on my sister. You know what I'm saying? That's the baby girl. You don't put your hands on my sister. You put your hands on my sister, I'm going to see you when I get out of here." But he knew I was locked up because my sister had told him. He wasn't scared of me. Oh, he was talking so much stuff. I said, "Oh, I'll be seeing you soon." Okay, here's my time again. I'm going to have to close it out, and then I'll be back to part 15.